Hi, friends. Today I have come with a new topic for you, a new drama that is Arms and the Man, written by George Bernard Shaw. So you have seen, see, these two dramas comes under detailed part, the unit 4. Okay, you may be studying in detail this drama. So let's see. Let me start with Arms and the Man for just your attraction. I have put you the pic for you for, about Arms and the Man. And then before we get into the drama, let me have a brief outlook about the author, George Bernard Shaw. Okay, fine. George Bernard Shaw. This is George Bernard Shaw. He was a very scholarly man. He is very clever. He has written very great plays. He was a most eminent playwright of 20th century. In fact, he is an Irish writer. He was born in Ireland, Dublin. He is from Irish origin. And like George Bernard Shaw, W.B. Yeats, I believe, and Joseph Conrad, no, Joseph Conrad, not Conrad. We saw the previous one more writer who was an Irish, Oscar Wilde, of course, yeah. Oscar Wilde and W.B. Yeats and George Bernard Shaw, all these writers are Irish writers. They are from the Ireland. Okay, he was a very great writer. He was a very renowned playwright, and I mean, of the 20th century. He was a very scholarly man, and he believed in social reform, and he was the leader of Fabian Society, which believed in the reformation of the society gradually, not all of a sudden. Okay, he was an iconoclast. What is meant by an iconoclast? He was the word iconoclasm comes originates from the word icon. Icon is a symbol, some tradition, some culture. The George Bernard Shaw believed that he was the breaker of the old tradition and believed in the realism. He was actually a writer of he was a realistic writer. He believed in reality. Okay, so he was the breaker of the old tradition. So he was called as an iconoclast. Okay, this is a brief alma mater. Alma mater, no, life history and the career of George Bernard Shaw, a short biography. He was born on 26th July 1856, okay, Portobello, Dublin, Ireland. Died on 2nd November 1950, aged 94 in Lawrence, okay, Lawrence, England. Um, Ayotte, okay, sorry, it's not visible to me. Ayotte St. Lawrence, Hertfordshire, England, and Shaw's Corner, he was resting place. That is the place where he was buried is Shaw's Corner, Ayotte St. Lawrence. What was his occupation? What is his profession actually? He was a playwright. He was a critic. He was a polemicist. He was political activist. Okay, all this was the occupation of George Bernard Shaw, that is G.B. Shaw. His nationality, British, you can say, but in fact, he was born in Ireland. He was born, as I told you, 1856 and died in 1950. Irish, that is, he has dual nationality. You can call him as a Britisher, you can call him as a Irish, doesn't matter. He had a two nationality. His spouse was, I mean, his wife name was Charlotte Payne. It's not visible to me. It's very small. Okay, just see, and this is a signature by George Bernard Shaw. Then let me move on to the next slide. Okay, I have written here, see, George Bernard Shaw was born on 26th July 1856, Portobello, Dublin, Ireland. His father's alcoholism, his father was a drunkard, okay, alcoholism, and his family poverty. When George Bernard Shaw was very small, I mean, young, at his young age, when he was a child, like 4 or 5 years, his family was very poor. He has seen the poverty, were a great source of frustration for me. This was a kind of frustration for George Bernard Shaw. Okay, his schooling was irregular, so he cultivated music, visited art galleries and theaters, spent most of his time reading literature. So his schooling was not regular because the reason is that he didn't have money to pay the fees or whatever. So he did not have proper education, but he cultivated his interest in music. He visited art galleries. You know what is meant by galleries? Where the painting would be displayed. Okay, the place where the painting is displayed, exhibited. Exhibition of art, that is the painting in the galleries. Now you got it. Okay, theaters. You know, theater in those days there will be a stage and play will be enacted on the stage. That kind of theaters. Spend most of his time reading literature. In fact, he had a lot of interest in the literature as well. In 1884, he joined the Fabian Society, a socialist organization. What is the Fabian Society? He was the leader of Fabian Society, a socialist organization. Socialist organization which work for the betterment of the society, okay, which advocated the gradual introduction of social reforms instead of drastic, immediate, revolutionary measures. This Fabian Society is a social organization. It's a committee which believed that the social reform, new method or a new style or new thing to be adopted in the society slowly, gradually, but not by bringing a sudden change. Revolution means bringing about the change suddenly. Okay, not suddenly, bringing about this change is called revolution, and that should not be done all of a sudden. That will have a adverse effect. So believe. So Fabian Society believed in that there should be slowly change in the society. Reform means making perfect. Making the society perfect can be done slowly. Not it should not be done all of a sudden. That was the concept believed by Fabian Society, and it was a socialist organization. I hope it is clear. In 1925, he was awarded with the Nobel Prize for Literature. Okay. Now let me move on to the next slide. Okay, fine. Shah as a dramatist. I told you just now, he was a great playwright, renowned, eminent playwright of 20th century. Shah became worldwide famous after started writing plays to British literature. So he became famous as a dramatist after started writing plays for in the English British literature. His first play, Widowers' Houses, was published in 1892, and his second play was Arms and the Man, which was published in 1894, which brought him public success. So his first play was Widowers' Houses. Keep it in mind. I may put forward this type of question. What was his first play when it was published? His first play was Widowers' Houses and was published in 1892. And his second play, Arms and the Man, which is now prescribed as a syllabus for you, as published in 1894, 2 years after the Widower's House, which brought him a public success. He became very successful as a playwright after the publication of Arms and the Man. And really, I tell you out of my own experience, it's really enjoyable drama. I really enjoyed reading this drama. In fact, teaching this drama to the student, it is really interesting. And students also have seen 2, 3 batches. They really enjoyed listening to Arms and the Man. Such a nice story. Okay. His third play was Candida. He wrote more than 60 plays, which made him most successful and sought dramatist in the theatre. So he third place Canada. Then he has written many other plays also back to Methuselah, Pygmalion, Apple Cart, so many. And you can see the list in the web sources also. I've listed few here. And he was the most successful writer of his era. Okay. His plays mostly used for his propagation. Propagation means shades. No, I'm just propagation of his social and economic views. Propagation means, I mean, disseminating and passing on his ideas to the people. Propagation means passing on his ideas to the people about his social and economic, what he believes, what his idea, what is George Bernard Shaw, what he thinks about society, what he thinks about the economic condition of the people. All this view he expresses, he he passes on to the people through his dramas. Okay, his play is mostly used for his propagation of his social and economic views. I hope you can understand. He passes on about his views about the society, that is social, about the economic. Economic means that is the money, financial something. About that, about that his views, what he thinks about that, he he passes on to the people, to the public through his dramas. That is the meaning here. His plays mostly used for his propagation of his social and economic views. Okay, so his drama plays, I mean, his drama act as a medium to express his ideas to the public on social and economic uh, concept. Therefore, his plays were called as problem plays. Why his plays was called as problem? Because it discusses all the shortcomings in the society. See here how the society is, how what are the drawbacks, what are the weak points, everything he discusses in the society. That's why his plays are called as problem plays. Is that clear? Okay, let me move on to the next slide. Some of his play I mentioned here, his literary work. He wrote nearly 60 plays, just now I told you. Some of them I have mentioned here, Man and Superman, he published in 1902. Pygmalion is also very nice play. It was published in the year 1912. St. John in the year 1923. Major Barbara in the year 1905. Dr. Dilemma in 1906. Arms and the Man in the year of 1898. Okay. Now, we have seen about what are things. Arms and the Man, you have seen the pic, oh, you have seen the photo of George Bernard Shaw, how he is. Then I'll browse one second, one sec. See Arms and the Man, then we have seen George Bernard Shaw, he is the George Bernard Shaw, very clever man, scholarly man, very knowledgeable person. Then about his short biography, then we have seen about the introduction about the author. Let me write here intro about the author so that you don't have the introduction about the author. Sorry, fine. I'll give bold, I'll make it bold and I'll give font size as right. Then I will give a color for this. 2 minutes, girls. Sure, sorry for the interruption. Okay, I'll give you this color. Okay. So I will save it. Fine. Okay, you have seen now introduction about the author, who is none other than George Bernard Shaw. Then I told you something about his literary work. His first play is Widower's Houses, published in 1892, and his second play is Arms and the Man, published in 1894. Then Candida, and he has written almost 60 plays, and his plays serves as a medium for him to propagate his ideas on social and economic concepts. Therefore, his plays are called as a problem plays. Okay. Now, then after that, I listed out you to his literary works. Like here, I have two literary works. can add up. Okay, fine. Then his literary works are like he wrote plays, nearly 60 plays, Man and Superman in year 1902, Pygmalion in 1912, St. John in 1923, Major Barbara in 1905, Dr. Dilemma in 1906, and Amson the Man in 1898. There are some more plays also back to Methuselah. We can just read in detail. Now, I wanted to give a short, brief introduction on the play Arms and the Man. Okay, Arms and the Man is the comedy by George Bernard Shaw, whose title comes from the opening lines of Virgil's Aeneid in Latin, Arma Virumque. Virumque, you cannot say Virumque, it is Virumque, cano, arms and the man. The meaning of arma vremko cano is means arms and the man. And George Bernard Shaw, who is the playwright dramatist of 20th century, has taken the title from Virgil's Aeneid epic. Aeneid is an epic. Who is Virgil? You have any idea? Virgil is a great Greek writer. He has written one epic poem called Aeneid, and in Latin. So, yeah, the opening lines. In the opening lines of the Aeneid starts with Arma Vem Cano. So from there, George Bernard Shaw has taken the title of this play, Arms and the Man. Is that clear? I may put forward this question to you, telling that where George Bernard Shaw has taken the title from for Arms and the Man. You must say George Bernard Shaw has taken the title from Virgil's Aeneid, written in Latin, that is Arma Vrim Cano. Okay, I expect this kind of answer from you. Right, let me move on to the next point. It was published in the year 1898. Am I right? I have changes, anything changes in the thing? No, 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 no. Yes, it was published in 1894. No, see, in different places people give different dates. 94, in fact. Okay, 1894. This play was published in 1894. It is humorous play. What is meant by humorous? Humorous means that creates laughter. Now, laughter means it is a comedy, of course. There is no doubt it is a comedy play that shows the futility of war. Futility means, what is futility? Futile. Futile means waste. George Bernard Shaw is of the view that do the people, no matter it is a military also, anybody is really willing from his heart to go and fight in the war and sacrifice their life or get wounded or have a bloodshed, either getting wounded or killing somebody, whether any people really like from the heart. People fight only for the, they have been compelled, they've been pressurized with the situation. Since the situation arises, they are compelled to go on a war. But really, is there anybody willing from their heart to have a go on a war? No. And what actually the outcome of war is? Any positivity you can see? No. What is the outcome? What is the result of war? It's nothing but it causes destruction, it causes bloodshed, it causes a lot of deaths, it takes away many people's life, and it creates hatredness, and it spoils all the thing. It's nothing but war is nothing but a destruction. What is then? Why do we should have a war? For what purpose should we have a war? Such kind of concept he is trying to bring out in the play Arms and the Man. The futility. Futility means is utter waste. Why should we have a war? Where I won't tell you that where in the war is going on between the two countries, that is Bulgaria and Serbs, Serbia and Bulgaria. It so happens that Bulgaria is about to win the war, and uh, the soldier from Serbia, he escapes. He wanted to save his life. Though he is a hero of the play, he wanted to save his life. So he comes and he escapes from the war front and comes and takes a refuge in the palace of the king of Bulgaria, because he knows very well that uh, they will invade the opposition party. I mean, opposing armies. They will surrender them. They have to surrender themselves. So they will kill them. There is a possibility. So the hero, bluntly, he comes and hides himself in the bedroom of the Princess Reina, who is the daughter of uh, king of Bulgaria, because he know that the soldiers will not search for him in that place, so that he can save his life. So from this action we understand that even the hero is not willing to go on a war and sacrifice his life. Then what is the use of having a war? So he wanted to, it is a kind of comedy play on the war. See, war he shows in a comical way. There is no any seriousness, okay? And this comically the hypocrisies of human nature. Hypocrisies, now simply they are showing off, I'm this, that, I'm a soldier, I'm ready to fight this, that. But actually from inside they are not willing to have any war. Okay? There is no kind of heroism. It is simply show off. So it is called as an anti-war play. Arms and the man. Arms means, what is meant by arms? First of all, I didn't ask you this question. What is meant by arms? Arms means this is not this arm, okay? That is also an arm, a part of the body. But arms here, it means ammunitions, weapons. Arms means weapons and the man. But here, actually, George Bernard Shaw presents it in a very comical, in a funny way about the concept of war. See, he doesn't like a war because there is no good outcome of the war. So he presents this play, Arms and the Man, about the anti-war concept. He doesn't like war, and he shows that the futility of war. Okay. Shaw brings out the ridiculousness of higher love. Ridiculous. What is meant? Ridiculous. Ridiculous means he attacks, he satirizes, he makes fun of, he ridiculous, he ridicules. He ridicules means he makes fun of higher love. Higher love means they like what they say, a boy and a girl who is fallen in love with each other, and before marriage the boy says, I can do anything for you, I can sacrifice my life for you, I can go anywhere, I can do anything for you. But after marriage, what happens? Where the love goes, there is no such reality. It is only a silly thing where a boy and a girl get attracted physically. That is called infatuation. There is no real love at all. There is no such real love. So he ridicules here. In the play also, through the story and through the characters, you may feel or understand there is no real love. But in fact, they kind of simply they say for namesake, oh my dear, I can do anything for you. I can sacrifice my life for you. All this thing is words to just to tell, but in reality, it cannot happen. So Shaw, so I told you just now, he is a realistic writer. His plays are based on realism. So he talks about the reality. No fascination or no imagination, no whimsical. You cannot become whimsical here, and he don't have any place for fascination, or I mean like what we can say, imagination or something, a fanciful fascination or all. Okay, he talks about the reality. Okay, let me move on to the next slide. Okay. Now, after that, let me come to the dramatis personae. Who are the characters in the play Arms and the Man? The main characters, like very few we have, but very interesting characters. Okay. Bluntschli, he's a hero of the play. Bluntschli. You should spell out as Bluntschli, not Bluntschli. Bluntschli, no, not it is a Bluntschli. It is Bluntschli. Hero of the play is a Swiss mercenary. What do you mean by mercenary? What do you understand by mercenary? Mercenary are the soldiers who have been hired by any country from other country to fight for their country by giving them money. Suppose India is having a war with Pakistan, okay? India has less number of soldiers compared to Pakistan. So that cannot be equal proportion. No. So what India does, he calls some soldiers from either from China or from America. Now America soldiers come and join with India and fight against Pakistan. So when American soldiers have been called, we have to pay money for them. Simply they will not come. Okay, we have to pay amount for them, and then they will come and fight for India. Though they are not Indians, they will fight for India. Such kind of soldiers are called mercenary. But since he is a hero, Bluntschli, he don't want to degrade that he is a man who is a coward, who run away from the war, all those things. Maybe he don't have any kind of patriotism for the Serbs. He is not a Serbian. He is a Swiss fellow. So he's from Switzerland. He is Serbia is not a own country of Bluntschli. So when he runs away from the war front, the audience or the spectators might think that okay, fine, no issues. Okay, he is not a he doesn't belong to a country of Serbia, so he's run away. That's why he has the very intelligently. Bernard Shaw has created Bluntschli's character as if he is a mercenary, but he is not a true soldier of Serbia. If he is a true soldier of Serbia, then it is a matter of degradation. He is degrading his country. So he don't want to present in such a way. So he has made Bluntschli as a mercenary, a soldier who has been hired from other country to fight for them for money. Got it? Okay. Now, Reina Petkoff. Petkoff is a surname, okay? Reina Petkoff, heroine and the daughter of Major Petkoff. Major Petkoff, not Petkoff, it is Petkoff. Petkoff, Major Petkoff, okay? Heroine and daughter of Major Petkoff. And she's very beautiful, very intelligent, she's very whimsical, and she is the daughter of the king, that is Major Petkoff. Now, Major Petkoff is the head of Bulgarian army. Bulgarian, he's a king, almost like a king. He is a king, head of the Bulgarian army. Major Sergeyev Saranov is a very funny character, but again, he is a fiancé of Reina. Reina means they are about to be engaged. It has been fixed that Reina is going to get married to Sergius Saranov, who is a lieutenant general and holds the highest. After Major Petkoff, the second highest position is held by Major Sergius Saranov. Okay, Major Sergius Saranov, Reina's fiancé and hero of Battle of Slivnitsa. This is the Battle of Slivnitsa. Now imagine when the play opens, when the play starts, Arms and the Man starts. Actually, the first scene itself, the audience will come to know that, you people will come to know that there is a war between the Serbia and Bulgaria. What is the name of that battle? The war is Battle of Slivnitsa. I have given a different color for your proper understanding. So the Battle of Slivnitsa is going on between the Serbs and the Bulgaria. And Major Sergius Saranov is the Lieutenant General, and something he has done because of that he has been appreciated in the war front. Such is going on, okay? But it is actually a funny thing. Later on we'll come to know. Okay, fine. Now, Catherine Petkoff is a mother of Reina. Lauka, she is a servant maid of Reina. Nicola, he is also a servant of Petkoff's family and fiancé of Nicola. Lauka and Nicola are also fiancé like Reina and Reina and Major Sergius Serena. Okay, so here two couples are there. Reina and Major Sergius Saranov, and Lauka is a servant maid. She has been engaged to Nicola, who is also servant in that family. But actually, Reina is in not love with Sergius Saranov. In fact, she falls in love with Blanchely, and finally she gets married to Blanchely. Got it? Is that clear? Six, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 main characters in this play is like Bluntschli, Reina Petkoff, Major Petkoff, Major Sergius Saranov, Catherine Petkoff, Lauka, and Nicola. Okay. Now let me move on to the next slide. That's it. You can just revise with this, and for the next class I will be taking in detail about, I can give an introduction about the theme of the play I wanted to tell you, and then I want to discuss the outline of the story. Then we will go into the story act wise summary, and then we will understand. Okay, and for today's, thank you for listening to my class. See you again in the next class. Till then, goodbye. Take care.